because we are missing our fourth player, I don't have our other screen overlay for this, so you're just going to be staring at the same one, the gameplay screen. But I should actually drop us back over to, if I can, Arwin's Rest, back in town.
We're back!
This is Under the Table, where we discuss the most recent session, as well as the adventure as a whole, anything revolving around the TTRPG experience so far. So we can have a Q&A from anyone in chat, from the players, from myself. We can talk about the session, the adventure, the campaign, anything. So we've wrapped up part one. Now, I say part one because technically you guys have just broken the surface of the actual adventure. There is more to come, but I would say you're about halfway there. So I know it's taken a lot to kind of build up, but I will say you guys are about halfway through the first adventure, so that's why I'm breaking it into two parts. I guess we'll see how that goes if and when part two comes, whether that whether we get through half of that and then there's part three, or if we get through all of it. But we have wrapped up part one. Everything from you guys arriving at Arwin's Rest to you guys arriving at Arwin's Rest. And I'm gonna open it up to you guys first. There are things that I want to talk about, but I'm curious what's pressing at the forefront of your guys' thoughts. If you don't have anything, then I have a couple for you guys.
I'm not sure how Mr. Man is gonna feel about me telling him his kids disappeared.
Yeah,
and probably dead.
So Griff, you guys met Griff. He is the barkeep of Hobbs Lodge, the main tavern there in Arwin's Rest. When you guys met him, I think Grunkle had the most interaction with him. You guys met with Grunkle doing a challenge. He said he will give you your meal for free if you could down an entire gallon of this porridge, and you did. And he was like, "Hell yeah!"
That's right. I forgot about that. That was a good time I had with him.
Yeah, so that's how you guys met him. That's how it first started out, and then he got to talking to Torvekek a little bit about where you came from, like what kind of brought you into town, and then introduced you to Grunkle, another guy who had just came into town. He was like, "Oh, you're just another friend of mine I just met today. You guys are all coming in," and after that, you guys didn't interact with him too much until Grunkle, you procured some provisions from him before going out on your adventure. Bought all kinds of stuff, and he hooked you up with all the goodies. Even gave you some drinks. Actually, Liliana gave you some drinks. But he is the father of Mateo, a young child who looked up to you guys and regarded you guys as heroes. And who ultimately you guys saw met his demise, so the characters think the players may have seen different.
I tried my best.
You did. You guys were injured, wounded.
We can honestly tell him that we tried to a foolish degree to save him.
Yeah, so
I think Torvekek especially can say, like, Grunkle was doing this to a degree that was stupid, idiotic. He was not going to let your child die unless it was absolutely necessary. Like, you could honestly say that. That wouldn't be a deception roll. I was like, fuck it. I'll take a minus 90%.
I thought it interesting that you guys hated Mateo. So when I first brought him in, you guys met Mateo when Grunkle... Okay, you guys call him.
I strongly disliked him, so I might have hated him.
We did not hate him.
Out of all the people you had met so far, you guys had the most hostility towards this child, who wanted nothing but to look up to you and idolize you guys as heroes. And you guys are like, "Nope, we hate everything about you." And I was like, "Damn!" It surprised me. I'd say that was probably one of the most surprising things for me this whole campaign, is how much you guys disliked Mateo straight out the gate. And then it ended with Grunkle even going as far as to calling him a hero, and Torvekek going as far as, when you guys got back to town, the first thing he did was go, "Hey, Mateo." And this just, I think that surprised me more than you guys immediately hating him, because then I was completely thrown off. I'm like,
just because he doesn't like him doesn't mean he wants him dead. You know?
Yes. Fair.
I mean, and it was from Torvekek's point of view, it's a small child trying to look up to him. And in Torvekek's mind, he's a retired soldier that wants nothing more than just go drink.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best role model.
Too true.
I think.
So, I mean, yeah.
At least for me, it's more of I'm just not a big fan of children, and especially I know I have cats that are always crawling all over me, but at a certain point, that does sort of like I don't want things crawling on me, and that was our first interaction. Was yeah, he's being a goofball talking to us while he's pooping with an older man, but then it's like we look away and all of a sudden he's being used as a cane, and it's like okay, you're like a booger that won't flick off my hand. And then we get to the bar and he takes the rock and it's like, Grunkle is losing patience because Mr. Pickles has deep-seated anger issues about things sticking to him and crawling on him. And I love my cats. I'm not trying to say I don't. It's just yeah. So that's more of me. But I do really want to emphasize Grunkle is a hero, whereas I am not. He wants to save people. Like, the moment he saw that Mateo wasn't just this kid on the street stealing money from people and pickpocketing things and being a nuisance, once he saw this kid wanted to be a hero and wanted to do good, Grunkle's opinion changed completely to he's a hero. But also, Grunkle, I told you, like every time Grunkle wants to save a cat from a tree, even if the cat's like scratching his nose and freaking out, Grunkle wants to save and do good. And so even if he hates the child is still a child and he wants to save this stupid defenseless child. It's just the child happened to go hero mode for a short period of time and Grunkle happened to have a bad arm from his football accident.
Football accident.
At high school.
So that's another thing I discussed this with Mr. Pickles. I failed you guys as a DM. And what I mean by that is I didn't fully understand the rules. This is a new system to me, first time DMing it, so I'm still learning a lot, and I learn a lot more hands-on as we go. I don't retain a lot as I read, but I do remember things as I read. And when we were playing, I was sitting here going, there's something wrong with our injuries. Something's not right. And I went and looked, and when you guys get hurt, you roll a dice to see if you even get injured. I wasn't having you guys do that. You were just getting injured. So Grunkle having a spear through his arm, Wylfer having a busted leg, probably should never have happened. Because you guys should have rolled to see if that even occurred.
Torvekek being perfectly fine.
Yeah,
somehow.
Torvekek is fine, but I don't know how you
Not
got through
jealous of
unscathed. But basically handicapped them immensely, and I felt bad, but I figured out, one, I'm going to correct it going forward, so that way it won't be a problem, but two, we came up with a good narrative explanation for why this is occurring, and it's basically going to follow along the lines of you guys are becoming heroes, you're becoming adventures, like actual heroes, so you're gonna get more powerful. So basically this is gonna be like a transition of you guys are getting more powerful and you're not gonna be as susceptible to injuries anymore. Does that make sense? So that's like the narrative explanation, but it's my fault. You guys shouldn't have been getting injured that easily. I apologize.
So good.
Welcome back, Tough Nuts. Did we do the finale already? We did just wrap it up. It did wrap up a little early. But the party made it back to town. Yes, they are back in Arwin's Rest. Pickles, you were gonna say something?
I often feel bad in games like this when I have resources and I expend a lot of the resources. I don't know what it is about me. I like to hoard my magic points if I have magic points, you know. I don't like to spend my luck points if I have them, or if I do have them, I spend a little bit, and that's like all I do. I call it conservative resource management, but so it's weird to me to play a character that takes damage. And it's like I'm used to staying at the back being like, no, I'm the healer. I'll expend my magic points as necessary to help you out. And so I kind of base my success on how much of my resources I've expended when I really should be thinking, how many injuries has Torvekek not sustained? Since like I'm designed to be the sponge, my goal should be to end each thing where I might have to recover, but this guy does not.
So technically,
I
you
mean-
did do your job.
So I feel
You-
like I
you-
did a good job actually now.
You did your job, yes, but Torvekek's also not really something that needs to be constantly protected.
Well, yes, but you're more of our damage output. I'm more of our damage input. I'm
Actually,
damage
you-
receivable.
I actually figured you'd be more of the
Damage
damage
payable.
output, but that's just me. But yeah, I see what you're saying. You did your job.
Yeah. That's
Um,
I do.
so I guess from when you guys made your characters to what they've become after playing them for, are you? Is this what you expected? Are you happy with kind of the direction your character's going, or is this not at all what you wanted?
I did not expect a Russian accent.
Fair.
It kind of just happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is kind of how I saw Torvekek. Kind of. The gruff soldier that would rather stab something in the face than talk to it. But he's not overly axe happy, but he is very axe happy.
I've seen Torvekek have some character progression. What I mean by this is he's definitely the gruff, tough, like grizzled veteran who's like, been there. I'm just trying to retire and drink. But I've also seen him open up to Grunkle, laugh, make jokes, and like kind of, open up to the party of being on this adventure and stuff. And so, I mean, while I don't think our first adventure went perfectly, I did see you guys struggle. I saw you guys
I mean, it's part of the game to struggle.
No, I know. I'm saying, like, I saw our party, like, get to the point where they were ready to break. Both of you guys at one point was like, I just want to go home. I saw you guys, succeed. You guys overcame challenges. You saved people's lives. You fought in just weird, epic battle. While our first adventure really didn't go according to plan, it didn't go perfectly. It really wasn't a bad, like, it kind of...
It worked.
It went all right. I'm not mad about it. There are things I'm curious what all you guys took away from this. When you guys, like, for example, when you guys met Wylfer, you met another character. You remember who this character was?
The rhino.
The beast thing that came and said hello.
And
or the baby one.
Pickles realized it's a rhino. You guys are the ones who called it a deer, and so I called it a deer, and you guys are like, that's not a fucking deer. And it's like, you guys are the ones who called it a deer.
No,
okay, I didn't call it a deer.
Like
you called it a goat. Torvekek called it a goat, but I told him he knows it's not a goat because you've seen goats. But
at least I was closer.
Yeah. So you guys gave when it came back across with its parental figure, you guys didn't even like. I was like, oh, I guess they didn't remember it or don't care or whatever.
No, we remembered. I think it's just Grunkle didn't want to be like, oh, hey, Mama Rhino, dear, gonna be your best friend. I'm a good Grunkle. Oh yeah, your baby recognizes me and it whimpers in fear. You gore me, I'm dead.
It didn't whimper. It was prancing around like, oh hey.
Yeah, but it might remember me if I get closer. Rhinos don't have great eyesight.
Meta.
Remember the smell.
I mean, anything, yeah, and then you could also say any animal is like that.
Yeah,
a deer probably would be like that. And I you played it more as like a deer, I think, in behavior. That's why Grunkle thought, it's an herb. Well, he doesn't know herbivore, but like, yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry, I do have a bit of meta with my knowledge of.
So it threw me off because right before that, you guys had met something else, and you're like, "Oh, Grunkle just wants to wave and say hi." So then I gave you a friendly creature, and you're like, "I'm not fucking talking to this." I was like, "What the fuck?" I'm so confused.
No, okay, no. I'm that was me. Like me. That's me being like, I'm a foolish, foppish 30-something-year-old white dude that likes animals and is friendly enough, and I've never been victimized too many times in my life. So it's like, yeah, my first impulse is, hey, Mr. Monster, how you doing? You want to come have a beer? Let's come on over and have a beer, buddy. And I don't think Grunkle would do that. That's why it's like Grunkle knows better. In this world, he knows that there's fairies and spirits. He knows that this could be like, I don't know, a fairy of the forest or a giant monster of the forest. Either way, he knows that you probably shouldn't poke a beast that doesn't want to be poked.
That's
and
fair.
so
why tempt fate?
He's smarter than me in this case, is what I'm saying.
That's fair. Yeah, there wasn't. I mean, there was options of stuff you guys could do, but really it was me just kind of tying up that. Okay, what was that thing? Where did it go? Like,
I like that. That was fun, and it did push us forward.
It was definitely nice
decisions happen.
Yeah, it was more just tying up or leading on to something else. We'll find out. Excuse me. Tough Notes asks, so did this wrap up the full first adventure? This wrapped up part 1 of the first adventure. They set out to uncover what was driving creatures away from the mountain and closer to town. And they figured out what it is. Now they have to figure out, I mean, if they come back for part 2, it's basically going to be, do you just leave? Do you solve it? Or
hold up, let's just solve this question right now. I'm down for part 2 after like, because the goal is to.
I'm down for part 2.
Yeah, okay, so we've solved that. So the plan then is to do a little jaunt in the woods, a little camping trip in the strange town of Golden Ridge, and then come back for part 2, which Tough Nuts is involved with and might be why he's asking. Maybe. He's the guest star, right?
Tough Nuts is our surprise! Tough Nuts is our guest star for part 2.
Well, okay, they're under the table with us.
Spoiler drop. Yeah, we can spoiler drop. We can spoiler drop. This is under the table.
Spoil it. Shoot.
Is Shifty out? No, Shifty wasn't able to make it today. I did see him pop up in chat. He was saying sorry he didn't make it. His character was unconscious, but the party decided to, instead of leaving him in the whoop swamp, they dragged his unconscious corpse back to town.
Unconscious corpse.
One life. Plus Alexios.
Yep. Alexios made it back to town too.
Minus Mateo.
Yep. You guys lost one party member along the journey.
He was a party member, but it's still a loss.
He was. You guys just didn't know he was.
It's still not net positive.
It's true. You gained 2, lost 1. Well, technically, gained 3, lost 1.
We might get hella money for turning Wylfer in if Wylfer's player never returns.
Yeah, so we ended with a lot of player knowledge, not so much character knowledge, because it was a notice outside on the wall. It was a scene out in the woods, so a lot of stuff for the players to know, but not their characters. I did that just because it's kind of fun. I did a game a little while ago where I did some like camera angle talk about, like, it was character introduction. We went into the castle and like through the window and kind of the scene, and I remember players being like, I kind of like that, so I wanted to do something kind of like that with the outro here. So yeah, there's a wanted poster up for Wylfer. He wasn't here to react, but we'll see what happens comes part 2 when you guys find the wanted poster for Wylfer. Also, like we were talking about, if you guys come back, since you guys are coming back for part 2.
Yeah, we're coming back.
It's we don't need to discuss it now, but it's going to be a case of, something is coming for the town, or encroaching on the town. Pickles, I believe you were the one who originally was like, the ashen trees were popping up around town. The stink bush things were popping up around town.
Stink bush spiky bug that stuck me in the nose.
Mm-hmm.
A storyteller whispered in my ear that was very similar in appearance to the ones we saw. Which means, in my mind, that the flowers are germinating closer and closer. And if they were at child height at the tree level, like at the mountain, and they are like tiny little stink bug size at the town, then we are going to have a problem very, very shortly. And Grunkle would like to have a not problem arm. Grunkle would actually like to have 4 arms, but that's
it's a different story.
Grunkle's not Goro, so.
So yeah, part 2 is going to be something potentially is happening with this town or coming for the town or something. So it's going to be do you leave, go somewhere else? That's been mentioned a couple different times. Do you solve it, save the town, whatever, or some other option that players could come up with, because I can't think of everything, and they could be like, oh, we're actually going to turn it into a circus. I don't know.
I mean, I could say right now, like, I think the most pressing thing is that Grunkle needs medical attention. If we can get that in town, and like Grunkle gets his arm repaired and then is able to recover his injuries, then that's not a reason to leave. But if I have to leave in order, if I have to leave in order to do that, then like I cannot play a berserker who only has 1 out of 3 action points per turn and they can't even charge.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I want to say that I really enjoyed the ending there, because you have made this a hell week in a sense of and it's only been 2 days. I'm pretty sure it's only been 2 days.
It was only 2 days. You guys, but because still, your sleep got interrupted, and so you technically slept twice, but it was like 4 hours here, 4 hours here, kind of thing.
Yeah, but still, it's like I hear of Hell Week for the U.S. military, Marines maybe, where they drown you in a pool and whatnot. It's like horrible things, like going through wet wilderness for constant times. You kept mentioning the water, and I'm like, okay, I'm done within 15 minutes. Me as a player, I could not handle that. Grunkle, okay, yeah, it's probably better. He has toughness trained 1 skill rank, but like, so it felt like I wanted to take a shower for a lot of these sessions. It's just like, it felt miserable. We finally get back to town, and I like that you reminded us that there's a lot of people here, rather than just 5 people at a dismal shed sitting in a swamp. Like, there's people coming out from houses and whatnot. So I like returning and seeing civilization emphasized after we've finished Hell Week. It's like coming back from boot camp and being like, Mr. Pickles, can we go to Jack in the Box, please? So yeah, I really like the ending there, with the suffering that we had been inflicted.
So yeah, there was a couple points that I wanted to make. One, the townspeople are thankful, like they want to show thanks, because you guys
we didn't even really do much though.
No, we got some food for them.
Yeah, you guys literally have made it so that they won't starve, because Kyler originally came to you with this problem because he can't go hunt because there's too much dangerous stuff out there, and so he was like, the town is literally on the verge of collapse, like this is a bad thing, and he was keeping it hush hush because he didn't want to panic people. He was like, it's actually worse than people think, I need help. You guys brought back a ton of food, and that's why people are looking at you going, feast, like, because you guys came back with a plethora of food.
I bought a lot of food before I left, though.
Yeah, which was funny because they didn't have a lot to give, and Grunkle took all of it.
Grunkle not here.
That was a note I made. I was like, they don't have that much to give, and you're like, yeah, I'm taking all of this, and he was like,
I personally, as a player, wanted the high of spending money when I didn't really have much.
The other side of that coin is you paid for a bunch of it, which means it doesn't go bad. He made a bunch of money off it, and so he was able to put in an order, which means something is on its way to town.
Oh, please be a blacksmith.
Yes, he spent his money on a blacksmith.
I will.
A healer.
Yes, a healer. If we had a healer, Grunkle will become that healer's bodyguard, and will worship the same god or goddess, preferably goddess of Inebria. I like that one. But still, Grunkle will love a healer, but a blacksmith too. Grunkle's gonna bring beer to the blacksmith and be like, so, what you say about a sword? Maybe something weirdly unwieldy?
I will admit, I'm pretty proud because neither of my players gave a fuck about this whole pantheon that I created, except, Pickles remembers Inebria. He's like, oh, I know this goddess, so the fact that you remember her name, you guys didn't remember Griff's name, and he was like, actually talked to you. Inebria's never talked to you. She's a goddess, but you guys remember her, and that makes me happy. I'm like, oh,
the priestess of Inebria talked to us, though.
Her name is Adisalon. See, they don't know her name, but they know the priestess who never talked to them. The priest, the god, whatever. Anyways,
I just like the kind of Latin-esque inebria. It's like
Yeah.
that makes sense. Inebriated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easy to remember. Addison. I don't.
It was Addison, but with a fantasy flair on it.
Yeah, it's fantasy, and my mind doesn't work as well for that. But yeah, go on.
So yeah, I just wanted to show that this town. Yeah. So, anyways, taking all their food was kind of a hit, but then it was like, oh wait, we just got a bunch of money from this guy. We can go and spend that. So they're reinvesting in the town. So if you guys remember, we talked about how they don't have a whole lot there. The last heroes that were there kind of fucked them over. They won't really talk about it, but they lost their general store during that time, and so they get their wares and everything by trade, by sea. And so with you guys coming and buying stuff and stuff, anyway, it wasn't all you guys, because you didn't spend a whole lot of money, but they were able to put in an order, and there's a ship on its way. But this is player knowledge. But
yeah, Grunkle's blissfully unaware of economics, but I feel kind of bad about, like, because I wanted to read.
It had a positive twist
that I wouldn't like run out of food and eat him, even though I literally went out of my way to buy that racial trait that I could eat mud before I'd eat dwarf.
And then he spent the whole first half of the journey just talking about, you're gonna eat me.
Well, okay, see, that's like that's the thing that I find hilarious about an ogre hero, right? Because ogres historically in like stories, they eat people. They take sheep and they eat sheep. They eat you if you come to complain about them eating your sheep. An ogre is a monster that should be killed by a hero. So the idea of an ogre hero tickles me so much. It's like, I like to eat anything. I eat my enemies, like casual like, but having some standards that sort of does make him a hero. He would never ever eat a friend.
I think it's so funny.
Somebody trying to kill a friend.
Grunkle, like your portrayal of Grunkle and my creation of the ogres are two very different things, which I think is so funny because you constantly play up Grunkle, terrible berserker. And I'm sitting here like, because
he has doubt.
The Greenskin army, they are the Legion. They are the most prestigious, like, civilization in the known world. They're the most powerful empire. Like, their warriors are regal. Like, when they walk, they march and, like, a head held high, strut. Like, they're the hot shit. And here's Grunkle, terrible. I'm like, no, you're a fucking, like, legend. You know, people would, like, bow down as you walk by. But Grunkle, like flowers. And I'm like, I love it because it's such a contradiction that I think it fits perfectly.
I also think it gives a lot of, like, narrative implication. Because if they were great and Grunkle was a berserker, why did he get to be a berserker when, like, theoretically, ogres are probably sorted into the different castes of what they're good at. So he was good at being a berserker at one point, failed during the training or the boot camp or the first several missions. He did something wrong, and now he's here. And, like, that missing segment of what did he do wrong, and now why is he here, is what makes his character interesting, to me at least, to try and, like, portray, because you've given a nightmare of maybe there was something he's suppressing or not telling the audience or not telling the player that makes it so it explains that absence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same for Torvekek is, so you're retired. What made you retire from, living in or dying in combat, I should say? Why are you here just wanting to drink? Because to me, narratively, a character that just wants to drink is suppressing something. Or they're just coping, but that's not an interesting thing narratively.
We address that a little bit more than we have Grunkles, because Grunkles, I would say, suppressed is a great word for it. Torvekek's really isn't suppressed. It's more of, I've moved on.
Simple.
Well, it's more of, I've moved on. That's in the past. It's staying there. I don't need to talk about it. And I know what that is. I don't know if he knows what that is. He might, but I know what that is. I can't remember if we've talked about it or not. And it will be addressed in time. This is one thing I was actually really happy about, because you guys gave me great characters and stories to kind of dive into, because like where I have my main plot, there's going to be, I don't know if you like in video games, you have the character specific adventures, and there's going to be those that are tied in, and you guys gave me great material to kind of build those and tie them back in, and I'm excited to look into them. I was gonna say the water you guys were talking about. We never crossed a river on our way out here. It was just there. It's a lowlands. It's a wetland. So when it was storming, it was flooding. So there's a bunch of water everywhere.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like, I know just from the area I live in that you could be walking across an area and it gets kind of boggy down, and like you might not notice it walking along like a trail in Pacific Northwest, but if it floods, then you would probably notice like, wow, it really does drop down for like 5 feet right here.
Yep, that's all it was. It was nothing really
minor
crazy.
Hills, like, yeah.
The only other thing is the water change. So the water was flowing one direction because they're like water flows downhill, right?
Yes, and I'm Poseidon is what is happening. Like I'm the god of water.
No, it was a creature was just laying at that end, so all the water was flowing that way because it was blocked. And then Grunkle was splashing and all this stuff, so the creature got up and moved, so then the water was able to flow that way again. Path of least resistance.
No, I'm the asshole at the public pool.
Yeah, that's all it was.
I'm not a hero.
It wasn't
Like
some magical thing.
For that.
Yeah, it was I don't know. That's another question I had. So, out of all the NPCs, the actual like people and stuff, who would you guys say maybe your favorite, maybe your least favorite? Who's the most memorable? And I'm guessing it's probably Inebria, a goddess you guys never spoke to because you can't remember anyone else's names. But I'm gonna ask, who out of everyone you met was memorable, and why?
I'm just gonna check my notes to see what. Okay, see, the first session. So I noted down Griff bartender, Liliana the waitress, Kyler hunt captain man in fur armor with beaver hat.
Beaver hat. It was a beaver hat, not raccoon.
I haven't met her. She wears orange.
Addison, you did meet her.
I noted
at the time you hadn't.
Yeah, at the time I hadn't. This is the first session notes.
Okay.
So I would say Kyler and the priestess Adselin were the ones that stood out the most to me. But as you mentioned, Griff and my little challenge, that reminds me of me trying desperately to get free stuff and how that was a fun encounter that the character indulged that. And I think a key part to making a good place for players to want to be is moments like that where the setting indulges them, where the town guard is like, oh, are you doing okay? Is everything safe? I'm not here to harass you and like cause problems. You can smoke your alcohol out in the streets. It's fine. And like, or the bartender being like, yeah, I'll give you a free drink if you can drink this little tub of sauce.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that was a positive thing. I just didn't have much more to add to it in my notes. Whereas Kyler and Priestess Adselin, they stood out a lot. Mateo obviously stood out a lot. And then I very much liked Alexios and being able to expand with him, and I hope he stays with us.
Really? I feel like I did terrible with Alexios. He was probably my biggest challenge where I feel like I should have done better.
Alexios is fine.
Yeah, I do want to say before I pass the torch to Fred here, because I've been talking a lot, is Grunkle disliking Alexios or snapping at Alexios or saying rude things is not me disliking Alexios. That's Grunkle being a character and me liking to make jokes sometimes.
Well, and it makes sense because the Greenskin army and the elves are at war. Technically, he's a half elf. So even he was, when he first met you, he looked at Torvekek and was like, oh dear God, like I'm stuck and he's my people's enemy. I'm dead.
Yeah. And I like the dynamic of him being wordy and then Grunkle being a little bit like
That came out of nowhere.
Staccato and everything. About
Speaking
things.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
I didn't
was a
even think
great
I was
moment.
talking that much, and then you made fun of me
You
for it. And I
weren't.
was like, oh,
You weren't.
now that's a
You weren't
thing.
Being a
talking
little bit
that much.
verbose, well, that's what he would say. You were using a lot of big words, and Grunkle felt intimidated, so Grunkle couldn't stand up. And
Uncle
but I
felt
like the
intimidated,
character.
so he lashed out immediately.
I find it
But
funny.
I like that we like merged. Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
no, you're good. You're good. This is your guys'
I was
time.
gonna say that like I like that Grunkle was able to do that, an outburst, and that made Grunkle feel safer, I think, in a sense, is that so you can outburst at this character, they're not leaving, they're not scared, they're here, or at least he didn't appear scared in my mind. And like so Grunkle feels more protective now. Because I think like in ogre culture, like a lot of his berserker trainers, berserk boot camp instructors were probably very abusive to Grunkle, and so like that's probably part of how ogres exist is a little bit of anger and you do this for me or because I'm stronger, and they say yes, I do this for you because you're stronger.
I'd say you
so,
even
like-
helped me develop Alexios a little bit more, because when I first brought him in, I wasn't doing as well with him as I wanted, and he wasn't being as useful as I wanted. Like, trying to roll in combat and stuff, it wasn't working out, and he was just seeming pathetic. And then I merged him to be more of a therapeutic ally, to where when Grunkle started raging and getting pissed off about stuff, he'd come in as a calming voice and be like, no,
Yeah.
like, you know, bringing on that aspect. I felt better about Alexios, and I was like, yeah, now he feels like a worthwhile ally that I would want to keep around if I was an adventurer. Because if he was just like throwing knives and he's, you know, just in the way and he's a liability, then I'm like, no, once we get back to town, you can stay there because you're safe there and you're not any use to me out in the field. But if it's like, hey, this guy's great to have at the camp because he can, you know, play music and cook, and, you know, he's therapeutic to give us that peril threshold help, like, yeah, keep him around.
Our manservant.
Sorry?
I said Alexios is now our manservant.
Manservant, yeah, maybe.
Well, no, he's not a manservant. Like I feel like he's the
No, I was just making a joke because he's always cleaning up the camp or setting up the
that's true.
camp.
Actually, yeah, he is the manservant.
Yes. Well,
But
he
no,
also
he's like the middle ground for us.
Yeah.
Torvekek and Grunkle.
He's the in-between for both of us.
Like Grunkle and Torvekek are such different personalities, but they have the same goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when Torvekek and Grunkle disagree, which if we're playing two players, first off, we should be disagreeing regularly. That like if
I like
we're just
that.
all the time on the same page,
Turn to
that's gonna be
Alexios is kind of
boring.
like the.
And we should have disagreements from time to time where it's like,
I like that.
it's easier when you have a triangle though, because then you can have that third person who can take sides from time to time. And I think Alexios is somewhat of he fills in deficits that we have in skills, I presume. And so we're both two fighters, and then we have this bard.
Once I build this character sheet correctly, he should be a huge asset to you.
Yeah, give him some knowledge skills that we don't have.
He does, but I'm looking over his character sheet and I don't think it's done right, so I got to double check.
Make him awesome, because I think Alexios is awesome, and I feel like he's a good tiebreaker for any issues that should come up between Torvekek and Grunkle.
I think it's funny that you chose Addison as one of your memorable characters, because she is a foreigner. She's not from this town. You chose Kyler. He isn't like the other people in this town because normal common people don't go out into the wilds, you know. He is someone who does. He's like, you know, job's got to get done, you know. I'm brave enough to get out there and do it. So you chose someone who's not like the common folk, and you chose someone who's not like the common folk. So I thought that was interesting. And then Mateo is very much a common folk. He's very much just a fanboy. He's a normal common human being who's just like, oh my god, adventurers, you guys are like heroes. Is memorable characters. What about you, Torvekek? Who's memorable?
Addison, I think was how you pronounced her name.
Yeah, you guys really struggle with that one. It's Addison, but with a random flair.
I typed it out fully so that, like, I think you sent it's Addison.
Addison.
Okay, then I typed it out. It looks like a medication.
Yeah.
That's the way I typed it.
Yeah.
Actually, if you used a Y in another place, that would actually, or an N. I don't know. It's not my time to talk.
So, Addislan, why was she memorable?
Because she actually had a religious talk with Torvekek instead of, just hanging around and just having a drink with him and leaving or something like that. There was actually a connection there. They were both curious about each other's religions, so they went and had to talk about it.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I was really curious how that was going to go because it wasn't really planned. It was like you were like, I want to go talk to her, and I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. So, it was what do you call that? Where it's not scripted, you just freestyle it. What's that called? There's a word for it.
Improvised. Improv.
Yeah, I guess. I meant maybe I'm drawing a blank here.
Improv is when you just make stuff up.
Yeah, it was all that. And so I really liked that scene because it was a chance for me to just let you tell me about your character. And I was just like, what inspires you? What drives you? Okay, what's your why? I think one of the questions, why do you worship your ancestors? And where did that come from? And you just kind of got to make that up and tell me about it. And I thought that was really character building. I liked it. It was good scene.
I enjoyed it too. It was one of the highlights, I think.
Plus, I think you guys got drunk while you were doing it, or she got drunk while you were doing it.
She got drunk.
And I wrote notes on it. That's what, like, that was the moment I think I was like, I really like this character. That's interesting to me. I'm not involved here. I noted, like, I haven't met her yet. Was why I said that is because I really enjoyed that scene with you guys.
Yeah, I think it was after that Torvekek was like, "We're gonna get a blessing."
Mm-hmm.
I presented a couple different creatures / enemies / just things. Were any of those memorable?
Other than trying to kill us?
Could have been the ones that were trying to kill you, other ones that didn't try and kill you.
The only ones that are really memorable to me were the little wood demons, to be honest.
Why were they memorable?
Because they're really fucking hard to kill.
Another poor, like, DM on my part. Those guys were supposed to be
not so much hard to kill as it was there's a shit ton of them.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a shit ton. You guys were supposed to sweep through them. You were supposed to be like taking out 20, but they were just so many of them that you guys would have to flee. But again, I didn't run combat correctly, so it was a fail on my part, but I'll fix it in the future. Basically, narratively, you guys are going to get real strong real quick. Okay. The twig blights is what they're called. Twig blights. Pickles, any memorable other creatures?
I have talked with you a lot on other streams, like played up about this kind of stuff. Because all the fights felt very memorable to me. Because
yeah, we have talked a lot about this, and that's how I realized that I had done everything wrong.
I'm very resource conservative, so that's just how I play, and that's the acknowledgement I think is necessary here. It's just like the first fight, I was like, oh my gosh, all these bandits with different weapons. We are maybe overpowered here and having a little luck on our side and like profession abilities and whatnot to be able to take them down. So that put me very much on a, I don't know if Grunkle is that powerful. He is a failed berserker after all, so it's sort of like, yeah, that makes sense. But the injuries being very brutal, it made combat stand out a lot to me. And that's just like, it is grim and perilous.
Yeah,
like,
I'm rolling with it because it really is supposed to put you in that, oh my god, like, it's dangerous. But it's also, hopefully, come, part 2 or adventure 2 or wherever we get to it, it should hopefully kind of help you appreciate, whoa, like, we're powerful. Like, we're no longer just those common guys who are getting injured every single fight. It should really, put the emphasis on that going forward. Continue.
So then the twig blights is like, oh, this is a fight that the storyteller does not want us to win. Like, I spewed fire, and I love being able to use that. as I said, resource conservative, and I only had one firebomb breath, and then it's like until we order more Rotka Gen, no more fire breath from this guy. It's my one dragon breath attack, and I felt so good about it because that's what felt good about the Twig Blights. Is that's the exact character you want to hit with like a fire breath, rock gut spray.
Yeah,
like that felt good. It felt
you
like
guys
I
had
was able
4
to
enemies
fight
and you
back.
took 3 of them out of the fight.
I
I was like,
started raining heavily, and I'm like, oh fuck, they get spells every round. The magicians of the forest, or the god of the forest, or what have you, had some dank magic there. Like every single round we were rolling something, it's like, oh, we are not supposed to succeed here. They're getting lightning, they're getting rain. We need to run, and I think that's how it went. And then we saw Mateo helping us out, and it was like, ugh. Well,
yeah,
my
that's
one
that
character
point in the
trait that
fight
Grunkle
where
has to abide by.
there's fire going on, there's rain coming down. It's the one point in the movie where all of a sudden this sad music starts playing, and the heroes are all like weary and worn and have to retreat, and the kid died, and it really became quite a scene I wasn't prepared for. I was like, damn.
And Fred, your disagreement with Grunkle made me feel so bad. I was like, I didn't mean to.
It was like, no, you suck, you failed, move on.
No, it's just, well, I mean, yes, but like your scorn cut so deep for me. I was like, you know what? I did feel foolish doing that. I was just going down my own route, and I didn't ask you, and I felt like I let my buddy Fred down.
I mean, as Torvekek, he doesn't care if you do your own thing, but there was other issues at that point that needed to be addressed, like all the wounded compatriots we had.
Yeah, Wylfer couldn't even move. Poor guy.
Grunkle went like a wild card, and so I feel like I was, in a small sense, please don't kill Grunkle for this. I felt like I was a little bit of your Travis King here.
What do you mean, please don't kill him for this? You just shitting on Travis King.
No, I'm just saying Travis King could be a bit of a wild card, and I feel like that's
true.
the case for the other game.
It was
Grunkle
a little bit.
To you?
It was a little bit like that, but he's not. He had a good excuse for going off. Like this.
I wouldn't say it was like Travis King. Travis King is chaotic.
What? Travis King doesn't have a good reason.
No,
for, like,
usually no. Usually no.
He does, but no. Like, he has reasons for doing the things he does, but he doesn't share with, like, or it's not that he doesn't share. It's just you don't know what they are. Like, it's just chaos, and so hanging out with Travis King is chaotic. You're like, I have no idea what you're gonna do. Like, you could just fucking pull down your pants in the middle of kickboxing class, and I'm gonna be so concerned. Grunkle isn't like that, and I feel like in that moment it wasn't like what the fuck are you doing? It's like, I see what you're doing and why you're doing it, but please stop.
Bad idea.
Yeah, we have other things we have to deal with. Now it's not a good time.
But now we can tell Griff, who I did not know was the father of Mateo, even though you probably said it 2 to 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
That's now like an added, oh fuck.
There's also something else you guys found. I think Wylfer is actually carrying it because you guys were like, oh, Mateo, don't care. There's a locket you guys found.
Did we?
No, didn't we? No. Torvekek found it, identified it, and then gave it to Alexios, I think, to look at. And then I think Alexios gave it back.
Alexios opened it, figured out how to open it. Yeah. It's a locket, and inside was like one of those old like drawings. You know, they couldn't take pictures, so it was a drawing, and it looked like a young version of Alexios. And both of you guys were like, "Yeah, I don't want it." And so you guys gave it, and Wylfer's carrying it.
Alexios?
I thought Wylfer was carrying it.
No, you said it looked like a young version of Alexios?
Of Mateo, excuse me.
Mateo, okay. Yeah.
And both of you guys are like, ew, gross.
Well, we own Wylfer as like inventory right now, so
right, yeah. I think Wylfer's carrying it, but that's another item that you guys picked up during
that would
adventure.
Be a really great thing to offer when you say he was taken by the forest. Because now, honestly, my perspective is that fuck this forest swamp. I want to get revenge. Yeah, I didn't like Mateo, but that really pissed me off. And now I want to prepare for whatever the next step is to attack back. I want to do a smack back, you know?
So character knowledge versus player knowledge here. Player knowledge, in the ending credits, the camera zoomed out to a child holding the hand of whatever that moss creature was that Torvekek saw moving through the swamp.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
maybe
but Grunkle
Mateo's
wants to
not
do
dead.
a smack back. Grunkle's ready to clown on these fools.
Yeah. Just for player knowledge, maybe Mateo's not dead.
That would make me very happy.
It
Or
might make
maybe it's just a different child holding
it might make Torvekek a little bit grumpy.
Yeah.
I thought we got rid of you.
That's how we got rid of you.
Oh, fuck.
Damn it!
It's back.
But anyways, Tough Nut says that he has more questions, but he didn't ask any of them here. So he does say that in other news, he bought Divinity Original Sin 2 or 1. He bought Pathfinder, which I'm guessing is like Wrath of the Righteous and those. 2. Okay. Or Kingmaker. Yeah, there's 2 different. There's Kingmaker and there's Wrath of the Righteous.
I think I have Kingmaker on my shelf actually. The like paper plot point campaign.
Yeah, yep. They made a game of it. Both Pathfinders,
always
are
been
those multiplayer? I thought those were single player. I don't know. That's my next playthrough. I was gonna do single player playthrough, but I guess if Tough Nuts is around, maybe I'll do it. Didn't check that. Yeah, I don't know. Bought that one, and Solasta with all the DLCs because there's a new DLC coming out for that one, new campaign. He also has Baldur's Gate 3, which are all games that I plan on playing on the stream soon, so maybe I'll be playing with Tough Nuts. And I believe Pickle showed interest in playing some of them, but then changed his mind, or maybe didn't, or we don't know.
I'm a little shifty on my opinion there.
Calling Shifty
that's-
out for only showing up sometimes, or what does that mean?
No, I meant it literally.
Oh.
Like my opinion on fantasy is, I don't know, traditional like corporate fantasy, like video games and movies often don't intrigue me at all, and I feel bad about it, and I should.
That's
But
how it
I
was with
used to-
Solasta, because I didn't really enjoy the Solasta campaign, either of them.
Okay.
I was like, these are dumb stories, but whatever. It was more playing D&D with my friends and just laughing and having a good time is what it was.
Yeah, and there's times where I'm like, yeah, I think I can get myself into that because I know I'll have a fun time once I start. But it's that catalyst of starting that is very difficult for me.
Yeah,
Yes. But
I get it. But who knows? Opportunity is there now. Seems like Tough Nuts and I got some games to play, so the opportunity is there if you ever want to join in. But any other thoughts from chat or the players before we wrap up Under the Table?
Who's excited for Golden Ridge?
I am. We talked about that. I think we were off camera, but yeah, for anyone watching the Strange Shadow of Golden Ridge, we played through Adventure 1 previously before we got into King's Crossing. So we're going to be heading into Adventure 2 of the Strange Shadow of Golden Ridge starting next week, Sunday, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern, whatever that is, wherever you are. I play Travis King, a very chaotic character. He is a bounty hunter. Bonds collector?
Bail bond recovery agent.
Bail bond recovery agent. Basically modern day bounty hunter. Who, yeah, very just chaotic. I think he's hilarious. Not everyone else does. He's been threatened to be murdered on many an occasion. But I feel like there's a chance, there's a sliver of hope for to be caught in a strange bromance with his good buddy Fred, played by Fred, who plays I'll let you talk about it. Yeah. Who plays Fred? Yeah.
I am Fred, and my character in Golden Ridge is Fred, and we have fun times. Fred is a policeman, detective, that has been roped into the misadventures of Travis King. And he's finding that there is a whole lot more weird shit in Golden Ridge.
There's
than
a
we
lot of
already know about.
strange in the town of Golden Ridge.
I mean, he already knew there was some stuff, but it's escalated since he's met Travis King.
Yeah, basically, he lived here and it was kind of like he was kind of like the yeah, stuff happens, and then Travis King just moved here and he was like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah, why are there monsters crawling on the streets chasing after people in the dead of night?
I
Why are
stopped
cats
asking
coming
questions
home?
like that a long time ago.
And then Travis
Open the
King
door.
came in and he was like, "Hey, cop, come help!" You're like, I don't really want to. He pulled out his gun. No, you're coming.
You're coming with me now.
Why was there a gun in the graveyard that shot missiles?
We don't talk about
Explosive rounds?
Yeah, explosive rounds, and it was heated and inscribed.
And
yeah,
you
there was
turned them
that.
into the police.
We don't talk about that.
And then the police are corrupt too. And
What about those raccoons that you found in that hole in the weird, like, water accident?
Oh, yeah,
Like, the
raccoons, yeah.
that ripped out a chunk of Detective Verde's neck and he went to the hospital for.
before Travis King so heroically saved him. Don't forget that part.
Yeah, you guys made it out of there without dying.
We barely
without
made it out of there.
suffering.
I was actually that actually really scared me.
I punished you there. I gave you 2 strength rolls in a row.
It was bad.
When
I was-
strength is your dump stat.
I got
You-
very
you
lucky.
succeeded.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very.
Not Cowboys and Aliens, it's Cowboys and Monster Hunter. Yeah, I mean it really is. It's an interesting one. It's a completely different vibe than King's Crossing. So it'll be nice to kind of take a break from this and kind of go back to that, especially since in this I play a very serious DM who has to like the setting is gonna try and kill you, and then there I just get to be a fucking asshole. And it's fun.
We're going to a
Fun.
cabin.
Yeah.
Don't I know it?
Yeah, I just get to be a fun, joking asshole.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Strange Shadow Golden Ridge is coming back next week. Keep an eye out for that. King's Crossing Part 2 sounds like it will be. What do they do with Netflix shows and movies where they get signed for another season or whatever?
Renewed.
Yeah.
You're being renewed for another episode.
Yeah, sounds like I found out today that King's Crossing will be renewed for another season. Coming back with Adventure 1 Part 2, where we get to find out what happens to Arwin's Rest. Did he either get saved by the heroes or abandoned by the heroes? Sounds like they're gonna try and save it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That's it from me. My name's Wrath. I'm here with Fred and Pickles. You guys can find us in the Discord, !Discord for details. Go check out, I almost said Strange Shadow Golden Ridge. Go check out, and I took that personally, over on Spotify and
Apple Podcasts.
Apple
and
Podcasts.
Anchor, but Anchor is now more for Spotify, so.